I think it's a great question. And so if I hear it right, it's when you find yourself alone, it's really hard to walk that road. And I think that aloneness shows up in two different ways. One, like you're saying, when you're the only Christian or person that's trying to live a Christian witness, really trying to be faithful, it's a very lonely place. And I think community becomes incredibly important, like it says in Hebrew in multiple places, that we would encourage each other daily, that we would find that encouragement, that we wouldn't stop meeting together, but that we would, again, as a community of believers, be able to encourage one another. But I was just talking to somebody out there that it's incredibly lonely when you really seek to put God first, even when you're in a group of Christians. So Jesus found himself incredibly lonely, when he's praying in the garden at night, or he would go to a solitary place, because in some ways, his radical obedience to the Father was a very lonely position. I think his solidarity with Mary, like I was talking about today, was she kept doing these things that were very overtly, aggressively not along cultural norms. I mean, she really stood out, really drew fire, and that radical obedience that she had to really elevate and worship or adore Jesus, that was a very lonely place for her. And so I think that when we are alone, we need people, or when we're lonely, we need people. We need solidarity. Solidarity is an amazingly important thing that we feel, even if it's one other person or two other people or whatever it is, that we're not alone, and therefore we have the strength to continue on. I think ultimately for believers, that's one of the biggest roles of the Holy Spirit, is God saying, I'm going to be very relationally present to you. I'm going to know you even better than you know yourself, and I'm always going to be there with you, and you can have fellowship with the Spirit. So solidarity actually literally begins in our relationship with God, and then begins to extend to the people that God might put in our circles or in our spheres that would have the same kind of convictions or understand what it is we're going through. So where you're at in being the only Christian in your circles is it's learning to really anchor in through prayer, solitude, the pursuit of God, that kind of solidarity that comes in the relationship or fellowship with the Spirit, and then through that beginning to look and see who God might bring into your path or put in your path that would also be a source of encouragement for you. But I think that is one of the fundamental foundational questions, existential questions about life, certainly Christian life, is how do I endure when I'm walking so counterculturally at every step? It's an incredibly difficult thing. It really is. So I think your question is very relevant.